Bowser is back.
Everyone calm down. The Super Mario Brothers can take care of the kingdom. Let's go.
On April 1st,
Toad, pack our things.
the galaxy is waiting.
Who is this? Yoshi. So some cool dinosaur just shows up and he's now part of the group. Cool.
The Super Mario Galaxy movie. Rated PG. Only in theaters April 1st. Get tickets now.
This week on Viewpoints.
It felt very restricted. I would be hungry and be like, what do I even try to eat?
New weight loss trends keep emerging, yet keto has stuck around. Then,
in New York Harbor, people have started in recent years to see whales that haven't been seen in that area close to the city, in some cases, a century or more.
From Chicago coyotes to Austin's 1.5 million bats, urban wildlife is on the rise. I'm Marty Peterson.
and I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth this week on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
United Health Group is bringing in-home treatment directly to patients, closing care gaps, identifying risks earlier, and improving patient outcomes. In 2025, patients received over 19 million home visits. Learn more at unitedhealthgroup.com/commitment.
Bowser is back.
Everyone calm down. The Super Mario Brothers can take care of the kingdom. Let's go.
On April 1st,
Toad, pack our things.
the galaxy is waiting.
Who is this? Yoshi. So some cool dinosaur just shows up and he's now part of the group. Cool.
The Super Mario Galaxy movie. Rated PG. Only in theaters April 1st. Get tickets now.
At any given moment, there's a trendy new health solution vying for your attention, from juice cleanses to zero sugar to intermittent fasting. But even in the era of Ozempic and other weight loss drugs, the keto diet continues to have a die-hard following. It's been more than a decade since the ultra-low-carb trend made its way into the mainstream, and it's still one of the most popular diets today. So, what makes it different? Kristen Sedler is a registered dietitian in Boston who focuses on helping clients build a healthier relationship with food. She says before keto was a trend, it was used as a medical tool.
There's a certain reaction that happens in the brain when you have epilepsy, which causes the seizures. And kind of going back to what I was saying about our brain wants to run off of glucose. So if you limit all of the glucose in the body, it's not able to run off of that, which means that your brain isn't working as efficiently and it's not able to have some of those reactions. So if you're cutting off the glucose and you're cutting off the ability for your brain to have those reactions, those kids are not able to have those seizures.
While keto may help those with epilepsy, it can cause problems for the average person. Sedler notes that people on keto often feel lethargic because of the lack of carbohydrates in their diet.
When our brain doesn't have carbohydrates to run off of, it's not going to work as appropriately. And we're not going to be able to be as efficient. We're not going to be able to voice our thoughts as well, because our brain is kind of going to be in this foggy place. Also, in terms of like, if someone's on a ketogenic diet and they are an athlete or they like to move a lot, our body wants to burn carbohydrates when we're exercising. And if it doesn't have carbohydrates, it will find a way to make them. We can break down our muscle and convert that to carbohydrates.
When our brain's normal energy source is restricted, some people report fatigue, irritability, and difficulty concentrating, commonly referred to as the keto flu. But for others, the structure of this method can help simplify their diet plans. Isabelle Fiedler was a college student when her doctor recommended keto to help manage polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS. Fiedler was a vegetarian, but decided to give it a try anyway. She lasted on keto for about 3 months.
First of all of it was ridiculously expensive to purchase. And as a college student who I pay for my own things. It was really hard to see normal flour that was $2 a bag, and then almond flour for the bread I wanted to bake was $8. None of it was good. It wasn't good. It wasn't satisfactory. and I felt hungry all the time, and I didn't want to eat because I knew I wasn't going to like what I was going to eat unless it was like a salad. But I also wasn't satisfied eating a salad for every meal and like a couple eggs for breakfast.
In the end, Fiedler says it wasn't worth the money or effort. And while her doctors hoped it would improve her PCOS, it didn't feel sustainable to her. That sustainability is often the downfall for many people trying to lose weight. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 40% of Americans live with obesity. Many are looking for structure, something that feels different from the ambiguity of eat less and move more. For them, keto offers clear and simple rules: no bread, no pasta, no sugar. But that kind of rigid structure can backfire for some when it turns food into a list of restrictions instead of a source of fuel and enjoyment.
Of course, it felt very restrictive. Like, it felt just incredibly restrictive. I would be hungry and be like, what do I even try to eat? It's like a chore. It was a chore for me to eat, and I'm not the type of person who feels that way normally. Like, I'm always excited for my next meal.
Sedler says before making a drastic diet shift, it's worth talking to someone trained in nutrition science instead of following advice from social media or a podcast. A registered dietitian can look at your health history, lab work, and daily routine to help build a plan that's actually designed for you. And increasingly, some medical insurance plans will cover nutrition counseling, making that guidance more accessible than many people realize.
A lot of dietitians are covered by your insurance or may have a sliding scale. And I would say to seek out help from a professional who can help you so that you're not jeopardizing your health.
Diets move through culture in waves. Keto has lasted longer than most because it's precise and proven. There are rules, and if you can stick to them, it's almost certain you'll lose weight. But the real test is if it's sustainable in the long term. Can you maintain this consistency when life gets busy or stressful? And keto, like most diets, does work for some because it aligns with their lifestyle and personality. To learn more about this topic and our guests, Kristen Sedler and Isabelle Fiedler, visit viewpointsradio.org. The story was written by Amirah Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jay Silvers. I'm Gary Price.
Coming up, more coyotes in the park, bats under bridges, even eagles overhead. Why wildlife is moving back into American cities when Viewpoints returns.
Now, finding a doctor is a little less challenging. United Health Group is investing in tools that make it easier for patients to navigate healthcare and pay less. These transparency tools help patients find providers, and this is the big thing: compare costs up front. The big picture? More transparent pricing benefits everyone. And these tools from United Health Group can help patients save hundreds of dollars annually. Learn more at unitedhealthgroup.com/commitment.
Few things are as uplifting as the greatest moments in sports. And nothing brings us together quite like Team USA at the Olympic Winter Games. From NBC Universal's iconic storytelling to the innovative technology across Xfinity and Peacock, Comcast brings the Olympic Games home to America, sharing every moment with millions. When Team USA steps onto the world stage, we're not just watching, we're cheering together. This winter, we're all on the same team. Comcast, proud partner of Team USA.
Hiring isn't just filling a role. It's about finding people who can drive results. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you match with the right candidates faster. Target candidates by skills, certifications, or location. Join the 3.3 million employers worldwide that use Indeed to connect with quality talent that fits their needs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way. With Indeed.
Ever walk past a place for rent and wish you could just take a peek inside? Maybe even explore the layout. Envision the natural light streaming through the windows. Or plan where your vinyl record collection would go. At Apartments.com, you can. With tools like their 3D virtual tours, you can see the exact unit you could be living in. Really envision yourself in your new home with Apartments.com, the place to find a place.
If you're in Austin, you might grab some world-famous barbecue, take a tour of the Texas Capitol building, or spend an evening strolling down Congress Avenue. But the city also boasts another attraction that's not so typical. It's home to around 1.5 million bats. The interesting inhabitant is actually the largest urban bat colony in the world. Between March and November, the small mammals live under the Congress Avenue Bridge, sleeping throughout the day and awakening at night. During these months, thousands of people come to watch the winged creatures emerge from their man-made cave and fly out into the starry sky. Austin even has a yearly bat festival that celebrates the species. While the bats draw large crowds today, this space wasn't built for them. It was created by accident, says Peter Alagona, an associate professor of environmental studies at the University of California, Santa Barbara. He's also the author of The Accidental Ecosystem: People and Wildlife in American Cities.
Back in the 1980s, the city of Austin, Texas, went about retrofitting a bridge that crosses Lady Bird Lake, the Congress Avenue Bridge. And when the bridge was retrofitted and rebuilt, some spaces were left between joints on the underside of the bridge to allow the concrete to flex in at different temperatures and essentially to provide the bridge with more strength given variable weather conditions. But it turned out that those joints that were left at the bottom of the bridge were perfect roosting places for Mexican free-tailed bats. There had been a lot of habitat loss of bat habitat in the caves all around that part of Texas. And so bats started to show up and to roost in the undercarriage of the Congress Avenue Bridge.
And when the bats first arrived, some residents of Austin felt nervous and wary of these new neighbors.
They thought that bats were dangerous, they carried diseases, they were pests, they should be eradicated. But over time, people started to realize through education, through research, through other kinds of public campaigns that these bats actually weren't harming people and that they were kind of amazing, and in fact, that they were eating millions of insects, including mosquitoes, that swarmed around these areas at night in the summertime. And so today, people regard them as allies, as animals that are providing a service by eliminating insect pests in the community, and it's kind of the mascot of the city.
The bats of Austin are just one example of a growing number of species that are migrating into urban areas. You might have seen this influx in recent years in your own community. Possibly more deer, coyotes, birds, or another animal entirely. But you might be wondering, why are these species moving in now? To fully answer this question, we have to go back to a time before cities. Why did humans of the past choose to settle and start building in these areas specifically?
If you look at where most of our biggest cities are located, they're located in areas that were convenient for harvesting natural resources. They were convenient for travel and transportation. They were often at the boundaries between two different kinds of ecosystems, land and sea, mountains and plains, freshwater and saltwater. New York is a perfect example of that, as a city that's right at the boundary of all these different kinds of ecosystems. And so because of that, we built our cities in some of the places that before the cities were there, were richest in wildlife.
Some of the largest U.S. cities today, including Chicago, L.A., Miami, and New York, lie near a body of water and have the right terrain, weather, and resources that create hospitable living conditions. Hundreds of years ago, these same areas were some of the most biologically rich habitats for species. But this all changed as humans ramped up development during the Industrial Revolution and eliminated wildlife. Green spaces turned to concrete jungles filled with shops, factories, and skyscrapers. Domesticated animals like cows, pigs, and chickens were bustled in for food production. For many years, cities were dirty and packed to the brim.
By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, those animals were moved out of the cities as part of public health programs and efforts to clean up and create more sanitary cities during what we call the Progressive Era in American history. And then there was this period, during around maybe the 1920s, 30s, 40s, when cities had fewer animals in them of any kind than really ever before. The wildlife had been driven out maybe decades or a century earlier. The domesticated animals had largely been moved out or brought into homes in the cases of dogs, many dogs and cats. And so there was this brief period when we had relatively few animals in our cities, and that created openings after World War II, as cities became leafier, people planted trees, created more parks, did things like this that enabled some species that had been existing at relatively low levels and people had been trying to conserve in the countryside to start to move back into, for example, new suburbs that were growing around many cities at that point.
Today, U.S. cities are cleaner, have more parks and trees, and there are more conservation efforts in place to protect wildlife. Alagona says that cities also draw in a lot of resources that inadvertently attract species.
Cities are packed full of food and water and infrastructure, places to hide and roost and nest that many natural areas around them don't quite have on that level. And so for wild creatures that can avoid the hazards that cities pose, like cars and pollution in some cases, they can actually access some of those rich resources that cities pull in, and that gives them an opportunity to thrive and to reach levels and population densities that they don't reach anywhere else, including in their native natural habitats.
From eagles to sea mammals, there have been quite a few interesting species that have seen a resurgence in the last several decades.
People would have not expected sea lions and seals when they were at their lowest population levels ever in the late 19th and early 20th centuries to rebound to the level they did and then to start showing up in every harbor around the country. And yet they did. And so now we have marine mammals that have returned to urban areas like harbors that would not have been predicted to do so. You know, in New York Harbor, people have started in recent years to see whales that haven't been seen in that area close to the city, in some cases, a century or more.
Another big example of the evolution of wildlife is the prevalence of coyotes in modern urban landscapes. Stanley Garrett is a professor of wildlife ecology at The Ohio State University. He studies the urban ecology of mammals, and one particular focus of his is the long-term study of thousands of coyotes in Chicago. Garrett says that coyotes have adapted in many ways to the challenges that cities pose.
They're fairly unique about this, so they have to actually cross roads. Even in some of the more natural areas, they still have to be able to cross roads and learn traffic patterns. And so they will figure out where are the best crossing points, and they'll understand traffic volume and traffic speeds, and they'll scale their movements according to that. The other thing that they do to try to avoid us and to make it easier to cross roads is they become more nocturnal as they move into the more highly developed areas. So it helps them to avoid us, but then also the traffic volume drops off after midnight in most areas, and so that gives them a little safer crossing.
Across cities, coyotes typically hunt birds, rodents, and deer. In Chicago, they've helped keep some bird populations in check.
The coyotes do help to control the population growth of certain animals that become nuisances for us, such as Canada geese, which become overabundant in cities. Coyotes are the only effective predators on goose nests, and so they're able to help control the population. And in a similar way, they are also predators on deer fawns, and white-tailed deer also become overabundant in urban areas because of the lack of predation. And so coyotes help to control their numbers. And that actually helps us quite a bit because deer actually are a threat to us in terms of deer auto collisions.
While coyotes have several ecological benefits, there are some people that fear this animal and other species moving into their communities in larger numbers. Garrett says that it is possible to coexist, but the public may need to be more cognizant of certain things.
Maybe not letting our pets run loose in certain areas at certain times of the year, or controlling our garbage or the food that we leave out. By making some small adjustments in our lifestyles to accommodate them, it kind of introduces this notion of tolerance and allowing some coexistence to occur with species that normally we didn't have to live with decades ago.
Alagona says if you do encounter wildlife in your town or city and you're concerned, don't call the police.
Police officers often have better things to do, and most of them aren't trained to respond specifically to these kinds of situations. So calling Fish and Game, people who are experts in the field and who can assess the situation, is a good idea in that case. But if the animal is acting normal, if it's avoiding people, if it's just going about its business, then it's probably not a threat to anybody, and it's best to just leave it alone. And as a matter of fact, that coyote that you may be concerned about is probably out there eating rodents and other pests that people dislike having in their yards, gophers, things like that, and providing an ecological service to us that we sometimes don't appreciate because we think of them as a potential threat and not a benefit.
For centuries, humans designed cities to keep nature at a distance. But in many ways, the lines are blurring again. As species adapt to bridges, parks, and backyards, urban areas are becoming shared spaces. How communities respond will help shape whether this resurgence becomes a source of conflict or a model for coexistence. To find out more about this topic and our guests Peter Alagona and Stanley Garrett, visit viewpointsradio.org. This segment was written and produced by Amirah Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jay Silvers. I'm Marty Peterson.
Viewpoints returns in just a moment.
United Health Group is bringing in-home treatment directly to patients, closing care gaps, identifying risks earlier, and improving patient outcomes. In 2025, patients received over 19 million home visits. Learn more at unitedhealthgroup.com/commitment.
Ever walk past a place for rent and wish you could just take a peek inside? Maybe even explore the layout. Envision the natural light streaming through the windows. Or plan where your vinyl record collection would go. At Apartments.com, you can. With tools like their 3D virtual tours, you can see the exact unit you could be living in. Really envision yourself in your new home with Apartments.com, the place to find a place.
This is Viewpoints Explained. I'm Ebony McMorris. Not long ago, prenuptial agreements weren't a common part of wedding planning. They were only used in cases of extreme wealth or high-profile marriages of public figures or celebrities. But that landscape is shifting. Recent polls show that millennials and Gen Zers are driving a sharp rise in these contractual pre-marriage agreements. Many young people see them as standard financial documents rather than a taboo topic. A 2023 Axios and Harris poll found that nearly half of millennials and 4 in 10 Gen Z adults who are married or engaged say they've signed a prenup. In addition, about half of all U.S. adults say they'd be open to signing one, an 8% jump from the year before. One reason for the rise in prenups is that people are marrying later. The median age for first-time marriage in the U.S. is now almost 31 for men and around 28 for women, according to 2025 data from the U.S. Census Bureau. This means that more couples are entering marriage with property, retirement accounts, stocks, or student loan debt. A prenup can make it clear that if the marriage ends, those assets or debts stay with the person who brought them to the table. For many couples, the shift towards prenups is less about distrust and more about clarity. It forces deeper conversations about money, debt, and long-term plans before the marriage begins. That's Viewpoints Explained for this week. More in a moment.
United Health Group is simplifying healthcare by investing in tools to help patients know more and pay less. These tools help patients find providers and compare costs and save hundreds of dollars annually. Learn more at unitedhealthgroup.com/commitment.
Welcome to Culture Crash, where we examine what's new and old in entertainment. There's a new movie out called Nirvana the Band, the Show, the Movie, and the first thing you need to know about it is that it has absolutely nothing to do with Kurt Cobain or his legendary grunge band. No, it's a mockumentary film from comedians Matt Johnson and Jay McCarroll. Johnson made a splash in the film world with his 2023 movie Blackberry, and now he's returned to the form with an early contender for the best movie of 2026. Nirvana the Band, the Show, the Movie, as indicated by its title, is based on a show. The show was of course called Nirvana the Band, the Show. It followed the exploits of a fictionalized version of Matt and Jay, who are trying to get their band, called Nirvana the Band, on stage at Toronto's Rivoli Theatre. The show was originally released online from 2007 to 2009, and then a sequel show aired on TV in 2017 and 18. The convoluted nature of this whole enterprise is kind of a feature and not a bug, and to be honest, it's not very important that you know it to enjoy the movie. The part that does matter is that these guys have been rolling cameras on this idea for decades now, and they make very good use of that old footage in their new movie, which, again, can absolutely be enjoyed without knowing anything about the project. In fact, that's how I first saw the movie myself. Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, is one of the most thrilling and surprising experiences I've had at the movies in years. It's the most I've laughed at a movie this decade by far, and it's also technically incredible. The way Johnson weaves old footage and new footage into the movie, adding special effects and top-tier punchlines all over the place, was a genuine triumph of filmmaking. Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, is out now. I'm Evan Rook.
United Health Group is simplifying healthcare by investing in tools to help patients know more and pay less. These tools help patients find providers and compare costs and save hundreds of dollars annually. Learn more at unitedhealthgroup.com/commitment.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints.
Few things are as uplifting as the greatest moments in sports. And nothing brings us together quite like Team USA at the Olympic Winter Games. From NBC Universal's iconic storytelling to the innovative technology across Xfinity and Peacock, Comcast brings the Olympic Games home to America, sharing every moment with millions. When Team USA steps onto the world stage, we're not just watching, we're cheering together. This winter, we're all on the same team. Comcast, proud partner of Team USA.
Ever walk past a place for rent and wish you could just take a peek inside? Maybe even explore the layout. Envision the natural light streaming through the windows. Or plan where your vinyl record collection would go. At Apartments.com, you can. With tools like their 3D virtual tours, you can see the exact unit you could be living in. Really envision yourself in your new home with Apartments.com. The place to find a place.